Welcome to the CreditSense tutorial on the myfico.com Transunion credit report. This credit report is one of the only credit reports available online where you can get a true FICO credit score. Now, that credit score is not weighted for mortgages or for credit cards or for vehicle purchases, but it is a FICO score using the FICO algorithm. And there are only tutorials for TransUnion and Equifax because Experian does not participate and does not use a MyFICO algorithm in calculating its scores. It's what we call a FICO score, and it uses its own algorithms. At CreditSense, we believe if you're going to go to a lender who is using a FICO score calculator, we believe you should have FICO score information and not rely on other types of calculating scores to determine what your credit score should be. So this is a tutorial for the TransUnion credit report available from myfico.com. Very good. So the first thing that we have is the summary. It tells us the TransUnion FICO score is 631 and gives us kind of a visual indicator of where that is, and it gives us some FICO score ingredients and how we rate. So this client is not good when it comes to their payment history, not good when it comes to the amount of debt that they're carrying. They have a good credit history as far as length is concerned, and the amount of new credit is very good. So once again, FICO scores range between 300 and 850 as the window that they do their calculating in. As far as CreditSense is concerned, anything over a 760 is a tier 1 credit score, but you are in spectacular shape, and our objective is to get you to 800 plus. So if you're watching this and you're a CreditSense client, our objective is for you to get to an 800 plus credit score, okay? And as far as FICO is concerned, that's a spectacular score, and less than 7 to 11% of credit holders have that kind of score, and we are committed to making sure you have it as well. All right, let's continue down. Understanding your FICO score. As far as this client is concerned, they have a public record or serious delinquency and collection on the credit report with, and this section tells you kind of how that compares with high achievers. Number 2, they've made heavy use of the available revolving credit. That means here they're saying that they have a 90% or 98% balance, which means they're utilizing their cards 98%. Number 3, they're saying that they have a recent public record or collection, and it gives the information about what high achievers have. Now, to be fair, we do not know what FICO or myfico.com calls a high achiever. We don't know if that's a 760 credit score, an 800 credit score. They don't say. They just call them high achievers. So they give you an idea here as to what high achievers have compared to the types of things that are in your way. Now, the fourth thing that they say is that they have multiple accounts showing missed payments or derogatory information, and what that means to your credit score. So you'll want to read every paragraph to understand kind of how you stack up against higher scores and other high achievers. Here's what's helping this client's credit score. Number 1, they have an established credit history. Oldest account that they're saying was 10 years here, and an average age of 6 years. And they have many accounts that are in good standing. So currently, there are 4 accounts that are being paid as agreed, and it tells you what high achievers do. Continuing, there's a list of how the lenders rate you depending on what your score is. They're saying this client is at 631. This particular client is a tier 6 and shows the difference in the interest rates and fees that would be paid if they were able to qualify for a mortgage. All right, continuing. Credit at a glance. So here again is the personal information. You'll want to make sure all of these things are right. These previous addresses, of course, are indicators that you do not have a as clean a credit identity as you should have with the credit bureaus in order to maximize your underwriting credit score points. So you'll want to make sure that if you're a credit score client, this is all in step 2 of your 8 Steps to 800 credit program, and you'll want to make sure that you take care of those addresses. At a glance, it's saying currently there are no accounts that are past due. The credit history is 10 plus years, and this report shows that they have 6 accounts with negative indicators. They've been flagged. The next section is kind of a summary. The total balance, here's your balances of revolving accounts, mortgages, and installment loans. Whereas by sheer number, you have number of accounts. Accounts with balances is at 4. Accounts opened in the last year, 0. Recent inquiries, collections, and public records. So that gives us a summary of what we're going to see as we begin exploring each individual account. All right. MyFICO lists with general information every single account that you're going to be reviewing on your credit report. So in this instance, there is a list, almost 2 pages long, of all of the accounts that are being listed on this report. It tells you when for CreditSense clients, what the name of the account is, what the account number is, the date that it was open, and its balance. And then it gives a status. Is it current? Is it paid as agreed? Or has it been... Now notice, this is paid or paying as agreed, and it has a flag, meaning it had a late indicator in sometime in the past. All right, so let's take a look at an individual account, because understanding one account, we will be able to read every single account and all of its details. So there's a status as of a particular date, and notice down here that this account was settled for less than full balance. It was a mortgage. So we're going to believe that it was closed about April of 2010, opened in July of 2006, and date of last activity and date closed then reconcile with our presumption. The loan was a second mortgage. It shows the balance, the type of account. It was joint with the spouse, and the schedule, and it shows the scheduled payment. Now, payment after, so this was charged off or collection. Now, let's take a look at a revolving account. Here's a credit card. It tells us when it was last reported, date opened, date of last activity, the credit limit, largest balance, revolving account, etc. Now here, it shows us the contact information. So if you're a CreditSense client, you can use this information to put on your creditor directory for easy reference while working in your worksheets. Notice the balance is 506, paid as agreed, paid or paying as agreed, but it shows that in January of 2011, it was 30 days late one time, and it indicates the same in this recent payment history bar. Now, here's a perfect example of misreporting. Notice it says worst delinquency, and that delinquency says that none was reported. Well, it says the worst delinquency reports the worst missed payment status that has been documented on this account. So it's saying up here that there was a 30-day late, but here it's saying none was reported. So as a CreditSense client, you would put that on your list to dispute because it may be inaccurate, unverifiable, or because there's inconsistency in the account itself. Okay? So you want to watch for these types of errors because that can be legally and lawfully disputed because even the documents itself are inconsistent as it's being reported by the Bureau. So notice right here, it shows a 30-day late, and yet worst delinquency, none reported. So once again, that is another inconsistency in the credit report and can be disputed. All right, so every single account, whether it's a mortgage, installment loan, revolving account, has all of this same information. And once you understand how to read one account, you will be able to understand every single account. All right, let's continue to the bottom, and we will come upon the next section, which is inquiries. Now, This TransUnion credit report says that on April 7th, Wells Fargo pulled a credit inquiry. This inquiry counts against this person's score 6 to 10 points. Now, it's only one within the last 12 months, so it is a reasonable amount of credit pulls. If you're a CreditSense client, step number 7 is going to walk you through how to coordinate all of your inquiries so that you are able to maximize your credit score while minimizing negative impact by inquiries. But here's a perfect example for step 7 of one of the items you would put in your worksheet. Now, the next section are collections. Now, these collections show that there are 1, 2, 3, 4 collections in this group. So let's take a look at what these collections represent. Here we blacked out the salient information, but it shows what the original balance, current balance, the date that it was signed, and if you're a CreditSense client, you want to count 7 years from this date, from January of 06, for the actual removal from the credit report, and that would go on your implementation plan and calendar. The account number is here. The account holder was an individual rather than a joint account. And finally, it was placed for collection. So the next section after this is for public records. And if you don't have collections and you don't have public records, it will say no file, nothing listed, etc. For this particular client, we're using this client as an example because they have a number of things that we can use to demonstrate to those folks who have collections and liens or judgment. So it tells us when the date was, the type of judgment, and the amount, plaintiff, etc. And here we have 1 and 2 judgments listed. If you're a CreditSense client, you'll pull this information and put it into your account or derogatory deletion date worksheet and calculator. All right, that takes care of the tutorial for the TransUnion credit report that you get from myfico.com.